So you've recently come out to Bahrain, Shanghai, Qatar, wherever you've seen us in an exhibition. You've come in thinking that you're going to invest in London, and we've told you no, invest outside of London, maybe Manchester or Liverpool. If that's the case, then this video is for you. Hi, as you know, I'm Chris, and first of all, a big hello from me. Now, if you're watching this video, then over the last few months, more than likely you have seen one of our exhibitions in either Qatar, Bahrain, or even Shanghai. Now, if you did, then I want to first of all extend my thanks for stopping by, and I hope this video helps you understand more of what we can offer. Not only you as an investor, but also we saw many agents over the course of the exhibitions, so we hope it can help both of you. So when we first spoke with you, the overwhelming response was that you wanted to invest, and that you felt that the UK was a fantastic market to invest in. But importantly, what you all looked at was London. You know London as the capital city, and you all felt from an investment perspective, this was the way to go. Now, you're right in some senses of the word that the fact that the UK is a great investment opportunity. Anyone's allowed to invest here, foreign ownership is allowed, but what you're not correct in is that London is the best place where to put your money. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about why London, why not London, and other alternatives outside of London. So we've got to talk a bit about London. Yes, it's the capital city, but it's extremely expensive. You're going to need a minimum of £700,000 sterling to invest, and that's only going to get you something basic in some of the better areas. For example, our head office is in Canary Wharf, and this will get you a 30 square metre studio at best. So just think about that. You've got a small studio and you've had to pay £700,000 for that small studio. You're now limiting yourself in who you can rent to. But there's other factors that you have to consider too. First of all is your overall costs are significantly higher. For example, when you purchase a property in the UK, the first tax cost that you have is stamp duty. Now, this we're going to come on to in greater detail later in the video. But of course, your running costs of the apartment are also going to be higher in London. Your service charge, for example. And what does this do? This affects your net income on a year-to-year basis. So overall, if you invest in London, your net income is actually only going to be, at best, around 3%. For me, this is not a great return on the investment. You can actually do better in banks. So what we look to do is get you anywhere between 8 to 10% income. And how do we do that? Well, we simply invest outside of London. That doesn't mean that you have to go to areas that are totally unheard of. We are still going to invest in major cities in the UK, but simply not just London. Now, if there are those of you that are adamant that you have to be in London, you want to invest in London because there are other reasons for that, for example, you want to live there for 6 months of the year, of course we have London-based properties. But if it's simply about an investment and return on your money, let's talk about the other areas. So what areas should you be focusing on? Well, you should be looking at cities further north of the country. Major cities such as Manchester, Liverpool, Sheffield, Birmingham, Nottingham and Leeds. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on the two best investment cities, Manchester and Liverpool. Now, both cities have taken turns in taking the top spot as the #1 place to invest in the UK over the last decade. We have seen property prices over double in the past 10 years, and this trend only looks set to continue. Now, first of all, the prices for an average one bed in London, and I'm talking central London, not on the outskirts, but central London, will set you back £800,000 to £900,000. However, in Manchester, the price of an equally good one bed, so we can compare like for like, is going to be around about £220,000 and around £190,000 in Liverpool. Now, property in London is fast becoming unaffordable apart from the wealthy and overseas buyers. But this means that the market is totally reliant on money from outside of the UK. However, Manchester and Liverpool are still totally affordable for both people outside of the UK, the wealthy, and of course people that live there. So this means that the more investment you have from within the city, rather than outside the city, it's going to increase organically the prices. It means you have a better chance of growth in cities such as Manchester and Liverpool. Now, the price point brings us nicely onto the tax issue. As we mentioned at the start of the video, you've got stamp duty. That's a one-off tax that's applicable for everyone, regardless of if you're a foreign owner or if you're a UK-based citizen. You have to pay this tax when you make that purchase. And how it gets deduced is a percentage of the property price. So when you buy an investment property, again, doesn't matter whether you're a foreign owner or a UK citizen, you pay a 3% surcharge. And if you are an overseas owner, you've got to pay an extra 2% on top of that as well. So let's work this out. If you've got a London-based property of £800,000, what you could do instead of that is you could invest in 4 properties in Manchester or Liverpool worth £200,000 each. So if you buy 1 property in London, you're going to pay £67,500 in tax, in stamp duty. That's it. You've lost that money, it's gone. You don't get that back. That's a one-off tax. But if you split the purchases over 4 properties and you buy £200,000 each, then what you're doing is you'll pay £10,000 on each of those properties. And that means you'll pay a total of £40,000 rather than the £67,000. That's a total saving of £27,500 in tax. That is a huge amount. There's your first year rent totally got back. So therefore, another big advantage, again, the second advantage of this video, is that you're going to have a far better option by buying multiple properties and a lower tax bill rather than putting it all in one big ticket item in London. So now we've covered the fact that you're going to make better growth. And now we've covered the fact that you're going to pay lower tax by purchasing in Liverpool or Manchester. Let's look at the other side of the investment, which is your rental income. Now, this is really straightforward subject because we've already spoken about the price, and it's clear to see that for a like-for-like property in London, you're going to be paying around 4 times as much than you would as in Manchester or Liverpool. Now, when it comes to the rent, you simply can't keep up. You cannot demand 4 times the amount of rent. The affordability is simply not there. So due to this, you have to take a lower percentage rent in London to get your property rented out. Now, let's give you an example. If you've got a £200,000 property in Manchester or Liverpool, you're going to be generating around £1,300 rent every single month. So that's £1,300 every single month, every single year for decades. And rent is only going up in these areas as well. This means that if you want to get the same income in London on your £800,000 property, you're going to have to generate £5,200 a month, every single year, every single decade to get the same percentage back. Now just think about that for a moment. £5,200 a month. That's an extortionate amount. When it gets to those kind of levels, people in London, they can afford to go and buy a property. People aren't going to pay £5,200 a month rent when you could actually go and get a mortgage, which will actually have a lower cost than what your rent is. So what then happens is you have to reduce this amount, and you typically will have maybe something like around 3,000 or 3,200. So straight away, your percentage income is halved. And then of course you have other things that affect your net income. Things like your service charge. Now your service charge is a yearly fee which takes care of all things such as the internal cleaning of communal areas, the exterior cleaning, exterior window cleaning, and of course things like your lift maintenance within the building. The cost of such services is far higher in London than it is in Manchester or Liverpool, which means when it comes down to your net income, and what I mean by that is that's your income after all of your costs apart from tax, you will be looking around about 3% in London, but much closer to 6-7% in Manchester or Liverpool. There's an added bonus as well. At Flambar Williams, we take care of the whole process for you, from the purchase to the furnishings to the recommending of mortgage brokers, solicitors. And as I say, we really work hard on the furnishing of your apartment because that's the key to getting fantastic pictures and getting your apartments let. And of course, we do all the lettings, whether it's traditional lets or short-term lets as well. Every single month, you simply get a transfer from us, whether it be here in the UK, if you have a bank account in the UK, or overseas in China, Shanghai, Qatar, UAE, wherever you may be, we transfer that globally. And every single month, you get your income. Now, to maximize the gain, we can also do, as I spoke about, short-term lets. Now, short-term lets are like a hotel where we will let on booking.com or Airbnb. Now, in London, you're limited to 90 days that you can do this for. Whereas in Manchester or Liverpool, you can let as much as you want. Now, this means that if you would like us to do a short-term let for you on your properties, you've got the increased benefit of having net income of around 8 to 10%. But also you can use this apartment whenever you want. You can block out dates and you can actually go and stay in your apartment for as long as you're here for. Now let's move on to the economies in each city. So look, we can't get away from the fact that London is the capital, it's the hub, it's the biggest economy in the UK. But Manchester is a really close second and Liverpool is fifth. And over the years, Manchester and Liverpool have gone from being cities which had a number of factories back in the 60s, 70s and 80s to now predominantly they're thriving cities that are service providing and financial services cities. Now you only have to see the change in the last decade where some of the major TV networks, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, have all moved their premises further north, especially to Manchester. BBC's actual headquarters now are in Salford, Manchester. Now other factors include leisure. Now let's look at where Manchester and Liverpool sit because they're not actually too far behind London. London generated £14 billion worth of tourism last year, whereas actually Manchester was just shy of 10 billion. So you're not actually too dissimilar to what the kind of leisure income is for both major cities. And of course, Liverpool and Manchester have fantastic football clubs, some of the biggest in the world, great restaurants, great bars, and they are a hotspot for university students. In fact, per square mile, there's more students in Manchester than anywhere else in Europe. There's 120,000 people studying in the area in Manchester. And when it comes to them graduating, 55% of the students choose to remain and live in the city. So what does this do? This puts pressure on the housing market, puts pressure on the demand for rental properties, increasing and benefiting investors such as yourself. We're also seeing a huge number of people internally move to cities in the UK, to Manchester, to Liverpool. Why? Because there's a lower cost of living there than there is in London, and of course the lifestyle that it can bring. So to summarise, and of course we have so much evidence to back this up. We don't just say take our word for it. We can provide you with documentation that comes from every scrap of evidence and every expert in the field. We can provide that for you. But just to summarise on this video now, you've got more choice in Manchester or Liverpool due to the purchase costs being lower. You're not limited by what you can buy. You're going to pay far less stamp duty at the start of your purchase, so you're already up. Your net income is going to be much higher in Manchester and Liverpool rather than London. And of course, you can do short-term lets as much as you want in Manchester and Liverpool, and you're not restricted by that 90-day rule. Costs are also cheaper outside of London, and the key to this is we increase your net income. And of course, importantly, we know that the growth in London is going to be pretty static with interest rates where they are. People are very limited about what they can borrow, and on a higher purchase price, we know London's restricted, whereas Manchester and Liverpool are outperforming London, even in the growth stats as well. And Flambard Williams takes care of the whole process for you. Doesn't matter where you're based in the world. It's not just us that's saying about Manchester and Liverpool is going to outperform London, but it's also the experts from around the country, from the OBR, from the national statistics, and the rental and the growth side are really in your favour. Also, importantly, you've got to take advantage of the fact that the pound is extremely weak at the moment. You've got a great time to get your currency into pound and get that security in a UK property. So there's some headlines on your screen now, and you're going to see that everything is pointing to the north of the UK. Now, whether those headlines are growth rates, whether those headlines are high rental prices increasing, especially in Manchester and Liverpool, again, the fact is we've got all the evidence to back this up. So I look forward to speaking to you, your family members, anyone that you need us to speak to help you on your investment journey here in the UK. And of course, at Flambard Williams, as we said, we cover anything that you need. Just reach out, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care.